Hey everyone, my name is Matt. Welcome to my shop. Today is June 28th, and this is my weekly shop update. So, first off, I want to show you this guy here. This is my new chainsaw bar for my 090. It is 66 inches, and it is as tall as I am, and that's pretty cool. So for a size comparison, this is the new bar, 66 inches, doesn't even fit in the frame. And this here is my previous, or I guess I can still use it, the bar I've been using for milling all these years, 42 inches. This just looks tiny now compared to that guy. I got this from a viewer. He sent me an email asking if I knew anyone who was looking for a bar for that size of saw. And I said, yeah, I am. So I worked out a deal and I got this thing here for a really good price from them. I'm really happy about it. Not sure the brand, the make, or anything like that on there. It's all covered up with paint. I might try and grind the paint off and see if I can see if the bar is etched with any of the information on it. But otherwise, I already got a chain on order and a larger mill for my chainsaw as well. So that'll allow me to do some of the bigger logs out there before I build the big bandsaw mill. And this will actually do probably be about the same capacity as the bandsaw mill, maybe a little bit more. So yeah, maybe just a little bit more than the bandsaw will do. But yeah, looking forward to playing around with that. Before we get into the bandsaw mill, I have a little bit of information about that since I just kind of touched on it briefly last week. Let's take a look at some viewer projects. The first project this week is from Richard. This is his cherry sideboard. It's built with Brazilian cherry and curly cherry plywood for the panels, and this is his first cabinet style project, and I think it turned out awesome. The subtle contrast of the different types of cherry in there make it look really cool. Next up is a rustic step stool by Shaun. He made this step stool to access higher areas of his garage workshop. It's made from old pallets that are finished with a coat of boiled linseed oil. And Shaun has a video on his YouTube channel about making this stool. He's got a lot of other videos as well. He's very entertaining. So check out his channel if you haven't already. Next up is a workbench build by Scott. This is a beautiful workbench made out of Douglas fir. Absolutely amazing. Scott has an entire build album about making this bench, and there'll be a link to that in the description. He has a lot of great techniques in here to really show how versatile a tool the router can be. And my favorite part of the entire build album is a picture of him installing the tail vise with the bench tipped up in the air and him precariously sawing on a step stool. Lastly this week is a crib from Shaun. This is really cool. He had some downed poplar trees on his in-laws property. He cut them down into 50-inch sections and then brought them back to his shop where he resawed them into boards with his 6-inch resaw capacity bandsaw. So this crib was for his daughter, and his wife wanted it to be painted, so he didn't have to worry about what the wood looked like. So he was able to make it from some offcuts as well as the stock that he had milled himself. The poplar that he milled for himself, he used for all the 30 of the slats, which were all loose tenon joinery, so that's a lot of mortises to route. Absolutely awesome work, Shaun. Of course, I love the tree to final piece. So I spent a bunch of time this week working on the plan for the bandsaw mill. If you missed last week's update, I announced that I am working on a bandsaw mill, a 5-foot cut capacitor cut width bandsaw mill to cut some really big logs here in the backyard, because I think that'll be a really fun thing to build. Not so much to have it, but to build it is probably going to be a lot of fun. So I'm working with Dima to create the CAD drawings and the plans for the actual build. It's going to be a lot of fun. He's going to be doing a lot of that kind of stuff, kind of helped me through the design and getting it into the computer and playing around with it in there, since that's what he does. He's quite good at it. So a few of the details that I thought I would share this week is the wheel diameter is going to be 30 inches, and I'm planning to purchase actual bandsaw wheels, so actual trued and crowned bandsaw wheels, so real ones for the mill, and they'll be pretty big. The cut width plus the wheels are going to put that whole head the saw head of the mill at I think 9 or 10 feet wide, so it's going to be very wide. The track, not sure on the total length there. It's going to depend on how much space the carriage takes up, but I want to have at least 10 to 12 feet of cut width or cut length there. So I don't really do a whole lot of long stuff, and if I need to do anything longer, I can always make some more track for it. I want to keep it somewhat compact because I am here, you know, I have a 1/4 acre in the city. I don't have all the space for a giant mill. So the smaller footprint is going to be a little bit better for me. And speaking of that, the size of this thing, it's obviously, I'm not planning to make this thing be portable. It's really just going to be here in the yard. I can bring logs to it and cut them that way. So with that, I've been going back and forth on the engine or motor selection for the mill. Originally last week, I was coming into it thinking that I wanted to do at least or around a 25 horsepower gas engine. But the more I'm thinking about it this week, I'm kind of leaning towards going electric. So in my limited research, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that understand this stuff more than I do, a gas engine horsepower rating and an electric motor horsepower rating are not equivalent, or they can't really be compared directly. Typically, at least the numbers I've seen out there, is that a horsepower rating on an electric motor is generally good enough to do 2 to 3 times as much work as a gas engine. So a 10 horsepower electric motor would do the same work as a 25 horsepower gas engine. So at this point, I'm leaning towards doing a 10 horsepower motor on the mill. Thinking single phase, since that's what I have here, and that way I don't have to buy any kind of phase converter, so that will reduce the cost. The other couple of other benefits of the electric motor are that it's quieter, which is nice. There's no maintenance really on the electric motor. I don't have to buy a clutch, because on the gas motor, you either have to do a clutch or an idler pulley. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. So it's generally going to be a little bit easier for me to build and cheaper to do it electric. I have my 50 amp outlet that I made, or that I installed for my welder, which I could use to power that motor out there on the mill. So that's where I'm at right now. Feel free to let me know your thoughts. Again, I just kind of learning as I go here. Lastly, a pretty big thing for me this week is I finished up the trim install in the room right above me. Finally. I finally just took the time to install 4 pieces of casing last night actually, and now it's totally done. So let me give you a look at that, and then in a few weeks I'll have the video out about making and installing all of that trim. So I finished installing the casing around this big window, and then this one here I had the top and bottom still to install. But those 2 are all done, and so is the trim in the rest of the room. And I really like the size of this baseboard against this flooring. I think it looks really awesome. And I'm really happy that I decided to scribe the scribe the baseboard to the floor instead of using a shoe molding, because I like the really clean look. I think it looks pretty cool. And a big window. And of course, the logs. So I'm really happy with the way that room turned out. I like the size or the width of all the trim that I used. I think it complements the floor really nicely, and the color definitely complements each other really nicely. The lighter ash floor against that cherry trim looks awesome. I'm pretty happy with it. So that's about it for this week. I should have some more details on the bandsaw mill next week. Dima is doing the design stuff this week and figuring out some of the part stuff. So we'll go from there. So thank you as always for watching. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments about anything I talked about today or anything here in my shop, please feel free to leave me a comment. As always, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And until next time, happy woodworking.